Hello everyone, I'm Paul Renaud, research engineer at France Energy Marine, and during this session, I will present the main functionalities of TAIFU WindWaves. So TAIFU WindWaves is a Python package that gathers the main outcomes of the OROWSHI project, and we will see the two main functionalities. So the first one is the reproduction of historical events using the IBTrax database, and the second functionality is the derivation of extreme wind and wave statistics for the design of offshore wind turbines. So currently, the IC recommends using a Monte Carlo approach to derive wind statistics, while the wave statistics are derived using a classical extrapolation method based on in-class data. So the two methods are not consistent and do not make possible to derive joint statistics of wind and wave. So in OROWSHI, we developed a methodology to derive the joint statistics, and so the method relies on the STORM database. So during this session, I will present the different output of the TAIFU WindWave package. So I first invite you to visit this link or using the QR code, and you will have access to a precompiled Jupyter notebook, which displays the different results that I will show, and so you can have directly access to the different graphs showing the different functionalities of the software. So the first functionality is the reproduction of a historical event at a specific site. So we rely on the historical database, the IBTrax, which provide all the TC parameters, so the position, the intensity, the size of the storm at a 3-hour time step. So different agencies provide this parameter, and here we rely on the parameters provided by the US agency, because these parameters are provided for almost every TC around the world. So the method is applicable to any site around the world. So first we need to extract the data and to process them. And then, so at each time step, we can apply parametric models for the wind and for the wave to derive wind speed at hub height and significant wave height and peak period at the site of interest. So for the wind, several wind models are implemented. So the first 4 wind models here are symmetric wind models, and the parameters are fitted on SAR images. This is the study from Renaud. And we had an asymmetric part, which is given by the alpha-T model with parameter also fitted on SAR images. We also have implemented model from the literature, so the model from Ishihara and Yamaguchi, and the symmetric model from Holland. So surface wind field provide the wind field at 10 meters above the mean sea level, and then the user can specify a speed-up ratio, which is a coefficient applied to the undisturbed wind speed to account for upstream local topographic effect. And then the surface wind is extrapolated at hub height using a logarithmic profile and the drag coefficient from the WASP formulation. For the wave, 2 parametric models are implemented. So the first one is the parametric model from Grossman-Matheson, which is very fast to run. And the second is a model that has been enhanced during the project, which is based on the propagation of Lagrangian particles. And so at the end, we can derive significant wave height and peak period at the site of interest. So I will switch to the notebook so you can see the implementation of TAIFU WindWave and the main output. Okay, so first, of course, we need to import different libraries, the libraries needed to execute the code, and also libraries from TAIFU WindWave to process the data and also to run the different functions. So for this session, we will be interested in a site of interest in Japan. So it's a real wind farm. So first, the user needs to specify the height of interest. So here, 150 meters, which corresponds to the height of a 15 megawatts offshore wind turbine. We can also choose the wind model. So here, the best model from the study of Renaud is the model from Loridan et al. So all of these parameters, of the input parameter, are gathered in a TC input object, which is a user input of the different functions. So here we are interested in computing wind and wave. The user, of course, needs to specify the location of the study. And here, so we are interested in casting a specific typhoon. Typhoon Abigis, which occurred in 2019. So this TC input object is then used as an input parameter of the compute time series function. This function will compute the time series of wind speed and significant wave height and also peak period at the site of interest. It first displays the trajectory of the typhoon. So here we can see the trajectory of Abigis, and the cross corresponds to the location of the site of interest. So the color corresponds to the intensity, so the maximum wind speed provided by IB tracks, and the size of the circles corresponds to the radius of maximum wind. And then the functions, the function compute time series displays the variation in time of the wind speed at hub height, and also of the significant wave height and the peak period. So also we can see that in the TC input object, we can also specify a specific date. So it is used to estimate and to display the wind and the wave field at a specific instant. So here we can see the surface wind, so estimated using the Renaud model and the Olfate model for the asymmetric part. And then the Grossman-Matheson model is used to derive the significant wave height field, the peak period near the site of interest. Okay, so the second functionality is the derivation of extreme wind and wave statistics. So we rely on the STORM database, which provides 10,000 years of complete trajectory of tropical cyclone for every oceanic basin. So we first need to extract the data and convert them. And then at each time step, we can also compute the wind and the wave with the parametric models to, at the end, obtain simultaneously wind information and wave information, so we can derive the joint statistics on wind and wave. We also had one other layer to account for the background waves, so the swell emitted by distant weather system. So we rely on the ERA5 in-gas database to obtain the contribution of the swell, which is added to the significant wave height. And so at the end, we can obtain the contour of significant wave height and wind speed at hub height. So this is illustrated in the following of the notebook. So we first need to specify some inputs. So basically here we need to extract all the TC coming close to the site of interest. So here we use a distance of 250 kilometers because the wave model can be applied up to this distance. The database used to derive the statistics is STORM, and then so the TC input object is used as input of the TC stat function. And so in the TC stat function, first the data from STORM are processed. So for the sake of rapidity and for the illustration, we here only extract the first 1,000 years of STORM, and the wind and the wave models are applied at each time step. And then the contribution of the swell is extracted from ERA5 and is added to the significant wave height generated by TC only using a reject sampling method. And so the function will compute the univariate statistics of wind speed. So here we can see the routine value plot of the 10 minutes wind speed at hub height, and also the routine value plot of significant wave height, on which we had the contribution of the swell. So here we see that taking into account the swell, we had approximately 10% to the significant wave height, which is significant. And at the end, so has the wind and the wave using the same TC trajectory, we can derive the joint statistics of wind and wave, and so derive a contour to have the joint statistic of these two quantities. So here we plot the 50-year and the 500 years environmental contour of wind speed at hub height and significant wave height. And finally, we can also derive statistics in mixed climate. So for northern site of interest, the contribution of extratropical cyclone can be significant. So the methodology to derive the statistics of tropical cyclone are is the same as before. So using the storm database, and then we had the contribution of extratropical cyclone using the Era 5 database as well. So to do this, in the time series of wind speed and significant wave height, we remove the contribution of cyclone. So in the database, in Era 5 database, we first need to identify the period at which all the tropical cyclone occur, and then we remove in the time series the wind speed and the significant wave height. And then using a classical extrapolation approach, so Gumbel fit on the annual maxima, we can obtain the statistics of wind and significant wave height. So this is illustrated here, for instance, where on the left, it is a classical extrapolation method based on the annual maxima with the contribution of TC using the Era 5 database. And on the right, we remove in the time series the tropical cyclone events. And so we see that, of course, we remove the most severe events, which reduce the extreme values. And so at the end, we can derive the mixed climate statistics, the unified statistics of wind speed and significant wave height. So this is illustrated in the last function of the notebook. So here we use the combined stats function to derive the unified statistics in mixed climate. So this function first uses the TC stat function to estimate the statistics of tropical cyclone only. So it displays the same graphs as before. And then we had the contribution of extratropical cyclone. So we can see here in blue the TC only wind statistics. In orange is the contribution of extratropical cyclone, so using a Gumbel fit on the annual maxima based on Era 5 without the contribution of tropical cyclones. And then we can combine the statistics to obtain the green curves. And for the wave also, so we have the TC only contribution, on which we had the contribution of the swell emitted by distant weather system, which yields the orange curve. The green one is also the statistics of extratropical cyclone based on Era 5 database. And then we can combine the statistics to finally obtain the red curve. And so in this example, we can see that actually the climate is dominated by tropical cyclone. So to sum up and conclude, so TAIFU WindWave is a Python package to encast tropical cyclone, but also to derive extreme wind and wave statistics. So the two methodologies to reproduce historical events and to derive statistics both are applicable to any oceanic basin. So the joint WindWave statistics, for the joint WindWave statistic, we rely on the storm synthetic database, on which so we applied a parametric wind and a parametric wave model to derive simultaneously wind speed at hub height and significant wave height, to derive a contour of wind speed and significant wave height. And also we had the contribution of the swell of the background waves. And finally, we also propose a methodology to derive the unified statistics in mixed climate using the contribution of extratropical cyclone, which is derived from the Era 5 and cast reanalysis. Thank you.